about their own wikis, figure out what works for them, and figure out places where that generalizes and places where it doesn't generalize. And in the long run, I would love this little community that we're making here to be a thing where other wiki people can come in and present unique things that they're doing that might be applicable to other people. In the long run, it would be really cool to even have some sort of like IRL hackathon get together sort of thing. I've been noodling at a few different ideas related to this. I don't really have a sense of why no one has made something like this before. A place where we can kind of just swap ideas and stories and try and make really, really good wikis. So, just in general, I think we're going to probably do this on a weekly-ish basis. So, invite your wiki editors. This is really not intended to be limited to Weird Gloop, or I mean, honestly, like if there's fandom wiki admins that want to make their wikis good, invite them. Like they deserve love too. So that's enough intro. I wanna talk about weekly-ish basis. I'm gonna start with a quote that is taken up a lot of space in my head for quite a while, and this is from Kevin Kelly, who is one of my favorite sort of techno optimist hippie writers. He was the one of the founding editors of Wired magazine, just a fascinating character. And this is him in 2008 talking about something he changed his mind on because he thought there was no possible way that Wikipedia was going to work. And so he says, the Wikipedia is impossible, but here it is. It is one of those things impossible in theory, but possible in practice. Once you confront the fact that it works, you have to shift your expectation of what else that is impossible in theory might work in practice. And I want you to keep this in mind because I'm going to come back to it later. And the point of the session is really to try and come up with some theory that kind of works, something that explains why Wikipedia works in practice, why our wikis generally work in practice. Because if we can figure that out, we can figure out how to make them work better. It's not a binary yes or no, this thing works. It's if you can figure out the underlying mechanisms that make it possible at all, I think you can do some really, really fascinating things. So that's really what I want to do here is build up a community of people with shared best practices and a clear idea of what is possible for a wiki. And the most important thing for a wiki is editors. Every wiki needs a flow of new editors to stay healthy, and having more active editors honestly fixes just about every problem. It gives you more people for new updates. It gives you more scope to take on big projects. And honestly, it just makes everything a lot more fun when there's a buzzing community floating around. And I honestly think if you are someone who cares about the quality of your wiki, which I assume all of you do if you're here, if you're taking God knows how much time out of your Sunday to talk about this. If this is something you care about, then growing the editor community is the single most important thing you can do. I think on a per hour basis, there's really nothing in the world you can do that will help more than getting new people excited about editing. And if there's a secret sauce for why OSRS Wiki is great, it's because we spend a huge amount of time thinking about this and maximizing it. And I'll try and be clear about things that I am and am not very confident on, but I am very, very confident that your wiki will get a lot better if you start thinking through that lens. So the basic pipeline of readers turning into editors is, let's say we have 500,000 people that visit the wiki on a daily basis, and maybe 1% of them have ever edited. I spend a lot of time asking usually pretty established editors why they started editing. You should do this too. It's both phenomenal information gathering and also just lets you learn a lot more about the people that are around you. There's one thing that is pretty darn consistent, which is nearly everyone saw something on the wiki that was so wrong, like so wrong, that they felt capable of fixing it, even though they had no context, they didn't know what they were doing. Whether it's a tiny thing, whether it's a typo, a missing step in some new thing that just came out, maybe the directions are backwards on something, maybe there's just straight up vandalism. Whatever the thing is, that is a moment where they kinda switch from being purely readers to being at least a little bit of contributor to this. And just doing that once is a big deal because if they do it once, about 5% of them end up getting hooked. And we can kinda maybe hypothesize about what defines that 5%. But the point is, if you create more opportunities for that first step to happen, those people turn into your core editors. So this sounds really easy, right? This sounds super easy. It's not, because there's a lot of things that get in the way. And I kind of classify all of these things under this broad umbrella of friction. And to me, friction is anything that makes it harder for new people to edit for the first time. So there's a lot of things you can think of either as negative examples or as positive examples. I'll talk about it in the negative to start with. First of all, requiring an account or email confirmation or approval from the site administrator in order to edit. These are it's if you're doing this, you better have a really, really, really good reason for it. There's been a lot of academic research on what happens when you even something simple as requiring an account to make an edit. What happens here? There's someone did a study on this, believe it or not, using data from fandom, because fandom, I can't remember the exact time period, maybe 2016 or so, started allowing wikis to disable anonymous editing. And you might wonder, what happens? How does this affect the various top line statistics that are available? What does it do to vandalism? What does it do to the flow of new editors? What does it do to the rate at which new stuff gets submitted to the wiki? And you can read the paper if you want, but the high level answer is it's really, really bad. Yes, it reduces the vandalism substantially, but it creates all these other problems that are harder to immediately measure, but in the long run have deeply negative effects on on your wiki. So within reason, you should try and maximize the number of pages that people can edit without really having to try very hard, that they can do with no friction. Another example is a lot of times on wikis, someone will see something wrong. They'll click edit because there's an edit button somewhere, and it'll just be a template invocation with no parameters, or the actual place they need to edit it is some data module 3 levels deep that they will not find. And you need to be honest with yourself that they will not find it. There's no possibility that some random person that notices something wrong will make their way to the appropriate Lua module or JSON or template inside a template. It is just not going to happen. And when you are designing things, you should really try and keep them easy for new people to edit. And some of this complexity is necessary in order to do cool things. I'm not going to say you should just, literally never use templates, but you should really fight against unnecessary complexity and unnecessary indirection. Stop here. Would you rather have 10 people do things that are good faith and imperfect, or one guy who makes the page and it's perfect? For me, I'd much rather have the 10 people. And to me, I'm honestly going to continue along the lines here on the assumption that this is obvious and you all agree with me on this. If you don't, then maybe we can talk about it in the after part. But the high level idea is the hard part is getting people to edit. And what you want to do is get them doing that, and if you can, communicating, and then you can teach them how to do it right. Let's check the chat. Lots of good stuff. So, really friction is it's sort of my north star. It is a really underrated trade-off to consider in all decisions you make about how to run a wiki. And for me personally, it's very, very often the deciding factor. How I feel about something is this going to make it harder for new people to contribute? And really, there's a ton of different dynamics, including the rise and fall of Wikipedia's editor base between 2001 and now. It's best explained, both the meteoric rise and, frankly, if you know anything about Wikipedia prior to it being a wiki, it all just kind of comes together when you look at it through the lens of friction, where what they did in 2001 was just by accident create this thing that anyone could contribute to. And it turns out this is just like a dominant strategy. It's just absolutely a dominant strategy. And everything that Wikipedia has done since, let's say, 2007 or 2008 that adds friction, makes it harder to edit, creates more rules, uh, makes creates more technical complexity on the pages themselves. All of these things, for my hypothesis, are directly responsible for the community sort of declining over time. And I think that these last 2 points are sort of mirror images of each other. Again, if you want to make your wiki great, the most important thing you can do is understanding this friction and eliminating it. And the flip side is, if there's unnecessary friction that you are creating in order to, no one does this because they're saying, yes, I want fewer people to edit. No one in the history of wikis has ever added a policy or a rule or a requirement for that reason. They added it because they were getting spammers, or there was too much vandalism, or people weren't reading policies. These are all things that people are doing in good faith, and they're just really making a mistake on what the relative trade-offs of these things are, because anytime you create unnecessary friction, it's just the biggest self-own you can do as a wiki admin. And so you should all be thinking about practical things you can do that reduce these barriers. So when I said earlier, all these people that started editing saw something that was so wrong, they felt capable of fixing it. And this is, I think, largely true, but it's also a bit depressing, because the opportunities you have for new people to help are extremely negatively correlated with the quality of the wiki. And wiki quality is usually increasing over time, and that that creates some unusual dynamics where, because of this, the number of contributors on a wiki is almost always going down over time, even if the number of visitors, if the amount of traffic is steady or growing. And this is a natural decay that you need to constantly push against. And so when I say this to some people, some folks will say, "Oh, does that mean we should intentionally make the wiki bad?" And there, to be fair, there is an argument for doing something resembling this in a targeted way, and I've seen it sort of accidentally go quite well a few times. And I'm not gonna suggest you do that in general, but what you do definitely wanna do is try and create the circumstance where the user gets a similar feeling, where there's something that they can fix without having to try very hard. So what does that actually mean? There's so many people that come into like the OSRS Wiki Discord that say, "I love the wiki. It's so great. It's amazing." There was something else I was going to say, but they have no idea what to work on, because the wiki just seems absolutely perfect to them. And I'm sure all of you guys have been operating wikis. You know that that is not true. You've seen how the sausage is made. You know how many things there are that still need to be done. And this is true for, as much as people really seem to love OSRS Wiki, this is true for us as much as it is for anyone else. So you need a good answer for when someone asks, "What can I do to help?" And the reason this is important is because a fairly large portion of those people will stick around to contribute in the long run and become an important part of the community. And they'll turn into admins eventually. They'll be like really, really critical people. But you do very literally need to have something for them to do. And oh, I was going to do a little demo of. Can you guys see this other tab? I think maybe. Incredible. Okay. So the whole point of this section is about curating projects, and I'll talk about this specific uh, program a little bit later. But the point is, we went out of our way to advertise on the site notice, "Hey, we have these projects we want people to do." and they were very, very, very specific. It's things like add maps of item spawns. It's here's a list of NPCs that we want to have pages for, and they don't exist right now. Here's a bunch of things that have missing release dates. Um, here's this one involves a little bit of actually doing stuff in the game. This one is, I mean, the point is these are tasks that if you close your eyes, you could imagine someone getting kind of hooked by, right? These are, I mean, these are perfect things. These are the exact class of things where someone who has been involved 5 years from now, you might ask someone, "Oh, what was the first thing you did?" They might say, "Oh, I added some maps." Like this is it just it fits. You kind of know it when you see it. These are a good class of projects. And so larger point for this program is we have a relationship with the RuneScape developer, and they just give us. I say this is more past tense than something we do currently, not because it doesn't work, but historically they would give us essentially these items in the game that were worth maybe $5, and we would advertise on the site notice, hey, if you want to do this project, we'll give you this item in game. And it turns out this is a phenomenal way to number one get the projects done. Like it really is. Uh, but the bigger point is that it's not about the projects themselves. It's about getting individual people excited about doing stuff on the wiki. It's about what they do after they do the project that matters. And so this program, One Small Wiki Favor, is something we did pretty religiously from 2019 to about 2021. And the reason we don't do it anymore is just because we don't have that many awesome, like low hanging fruit projects for people to do specifically on OSRS Wiki. If we still had those, we would keep doing this. So this absolutely works beyond what I could have possibly imagined. We from about 2020 to 2023, half of the admins that we've had on OSR's wiki came initially from this project. It's really like it's totally reasonable to ask, do you just get low quality contributions, low quality contributors that kind of, dart in and get their money and then come out? The answer is no. You get excellent contributors that stick around for a very, very, very long time. And I'm not going to say that this exact program works perfectly for everyone's use case. I think first of all, not everyone has a game where you can trade this sort of thing in freely. People may not have relationships with their game developers to make this sort of thing work. And I don't actually think that matters that much because the conclusion I've come to is that the item we gave them was really not that much of the motivation. There's a lot of people that got involved in this program and then just never even claimed the item afterwards. They're like, shit, this is actually really fun. I'm gonna work on this because I want to. And that said, I'm kind of going a little bit on a tangent here. I do at some point want to try generalizing this to other wikis, maybe using wiki merch or something instead of items that are tied to a specific game. These are just kind of like high level thoughts of things that I'd like to do eventually. So that's one small wiki favor. There is a lot of room to do things like this for your wiki. And the hard part is curating the projects. So once you kind of get into this mindset of if you have unfinished projects, it can be this amazing pipeline for new contributors, you'll realize that one of your most valuable commodities is those unfinished products that random new people can help with. And I really, really encourage you guys to stretch your brains a little bit and think about what that looks like for you. And because it can be sometimes hard to figure out if a project is going to be good for new people or not. You can get a good intuition for this. I promise you, it just comes eventually. And the high level thing I can say is that good projects are very nicely packaged things where people can really easily tell whether they did a good job. And usually it's things that are simple that they have to do, 10 times, 50 times, 100 times, rather than doing one super complicated thing. That's, adding maps, making really simple entity pages, sometimes splitting pages, collecting data from the game. Search Digest, I'm going to talk about a little bit later. For brand new games, having someone organizing, this is the list of pages that should exist but don't. And Wikipedia has started doing something a little bit like this where they have suggested edits. And one good example they have is, are there things in the prose that should be linked but aren't? Is this black text something that could be blue text? Turns out that, I don't know, it scratches the itch. I can tell just by looking at it that this is a good type of project. Bad examples are things where there might be a lot of hidden complexities or standards that are not obvious to people coming in for the first time. So image editing is a classic example of something where we've tried to do this and it's just never really worked. Writing long form prose is hard. And I can tell that Wikipedia hasn't totally gotten this intuition yet, because one of the suggested edits that they do is, hey, can you just adjust the tone on this article to be a bit more neutral? And I saw that. I'm like, that is the maybe the worst project for new people I've ever seen. In order to do that well, you need to have like an incredibly deep understanding of the style guide and NPOV and all these things that people just don't really have. So it's not just come up with projects, have people do them. It's come up with good projects. And if you do that, you can literally like double the size of your editing community just from this on its own. And I want to stress, I want to really, really stress that the value here is not really the completion of these projects. The projects themselves can sometimes be a bit contrived. And for a lot of them, it actually probably take less time for you to do them yourself than it would to write down instructions and recruit people to help. And you know what? That's actually okay. That's the whole point. The whole point is that some of those people that you'll recruit, 5 or 10% or something, will become long-term editors that eventually do all sorts of other really cool, valuable things for the wiki that are far outside the scope of of what you're currently doing. And this bell curve meme that this is the first time I've ever actually made this, but I've kind of said it out loud to a number of people. This has been kind of my progression through doing wiki stuff. And I think it's a lot of people's progression as well, is when you're starting off, you're going to say, oh my God, there's something wrong on the wiki. Someone else should fix that. And I'm sure all of you guys have seen that. And the refrain you want to reach for is, it's a wiki. Anyone can edit it. Do it yourself. God damn it. And if you're lucky, those people will graduate into, oh, I can edit this myself. This is great. I'm going to do, this is kind of fun. This is great. And you get even more involved. And for a lot of these problems, you'll turn into like, oh my God, I can automate this. I can write a bot. I can use Python or AWB or something. And that was where I was stuck for a while. And then I realized actually the people on the far left side of this curve were right the whole time. The more that you can get other people to fix things, uh, the better your wiki is going to be in the long run. And it's for this reason, because the process of getting someone to fix something makes them far, far, far more likely to do other meaningful things later on. So that's, what do I actually have next? I want to give a couple other demos of just little things that we do where you can create some environment for people to make some small contribution for the first time. So let's go to specials. I mistyped that. Let's go to special search digest. So some of you may know this. It's anytime you search something and the search fails, meaning it doesn't go to an article or a redirect or something, we put it here and then we sort them by how many misses there were. And surely there's got to be something here that I can like easily fix. All of this is like, there was a recent change in, I'm so out of date on how old school RuneScape actually works these days. League farming. Okay, this is a good one. So actually, let me show you what we do first. Because the point is not for me personally to be doing things. Point is realizing that going from some failed search to what it should redirect to is actually something that just about anyone can do. So what we did about 2 years ago is I made this post on the Old School RuneScape subreddit, which is again aimed specifically at people that don't know what redirects are, and you have to spend a bit of time explaining that. But we just say, hey, if you like the wiki and you want to help with something, Search Digest is cool. Here's a list of all of these things that you can fix. And then once you do that, I'm so bad at this. What can I do? Boosted drops. Okay, let's go. Let's go. So, and you just do this. And by the way, you can do this logged out. You can do this either as like a editor or just as someone who has never done anything. So the name of this league, the place this is supposed to go to is here. And I do that, and it's done. It's like, oh my God, I just improved the wiki. It took me 4 seconds. I didn't need to know anything else about anything related to wiki stuff. And I just did that. And if you had to guess, how many people do you think, based on this Reddit post, how many people do you think made a redirect in like the next week or something after this project started? Any guessers in the chat? At least 10, 20, 150, 30. Anyone else? Any guesses? 20 tops. The answer is 700 people. 700 people made redirects. Uh, yeah, that's what I want. 700 people contributed a little bit based on that. And yeah, there's a question like how many of them were useful? Not every single one of them, but honestly enough that it was moderating it was not that big of a deal. Probably as a percentage, 98 or 99% of them are useful. But yeah, 700 people made a redirect because of this thing. And so do you see what I mean, guys? There's a lot of people that would help if it was easy for them. Was it 700 edits or unique users IPs? 700 unique people. The total number of redirects was, I think, like 40,000 or something. It was a lot. Yeah, because I mean, there's people that went and did this for hours and hours and hours, and made dozens or hundreds, or a couple people even made like a couple thousand. And the point is that there is all sorts of circumstantial evidence that if you make it easy for people to edit, a lot of them will. And one other thing we did that was even kind of more, we gamified it too. Like this is I don't remember how this works exactly, but we haven't run this project in quite a while, but we turned it into a bunch of bars that were green and red, and people really really liked making the red parts be green. Turns out you can actually really make the wiki a lot better if you do things that way. And I'm honestly a big fan of gamification that still kind of like respects the people that are doing this stuff. You don't need, super cringe achievements that feel like a Facebook game, but high scores can be really good if it's something that is measurable and not super gameable. So that's one thing I wanted to show. Another thing I wanted to show is, and some of you may have seen this already, is this is article feedback. This is another thing that we made about 2 years ago that is, again, trying to fit into the what can we do for these 500,000 people that visit the wiki every day, that is getting them to contribute in some small way to the overall production of the system. That is not as hard as going out and finding something to edit and fix on your own. So it turns out if we just have this little give feedback button, and it's pretty simple. We don't have this huge thing where we're yelling at people about reading stuff first. It's just a simple text box. Honestly, I don't even know why we have this edit notice thing. I would probably get rid of that because it doesn't exist. But the problem with this article is cargo is better. And so we're going to save that and watch very carefully because something really magical happens. I think. Is it going to work? It's not working. It's not working. No. That's the first time in quite a while that I've done this demo and it doesn't work. And it's because this is a third party thing through Discord. Uh that's so sad. So this is this tool called WidgetBot, and the point is it essentially iframes the current state of Discord in for the channel you just sent it to. And you can see, oh my god, there's I mean, close your eyes and imagine that what you see here is a bunch of people talking in the main OSRS Wiki Discord channel, and your feedback has just been posted, and someone immediately already is like, "Wow, this is I can fix this," or someone is engaging with the feedback immediately, and it creates an opportunity for you to join, for you to realize, "Oh my god, there's actually people here." I say that I ask people what caused them to get involved with the wiki in the first place. Yeah, okay. This is what Cook should be seeing. There we go. You guys can see that, right? Maybe, hopefully. So it's basically this iframed into this when it works. And it's kind of annoying that it doesn't, but it's like a third party service that maybe we'll build our own version of it. I'm not really sure what we're gonna do. But the point is you give people this really, really, really easy way to contribute. And some people would say leaving feedback isn't contributing. It's not editing, but it absolutely is contributing. And once they kind of make that first step, you should do everything in your power to make sure that they are able to roll downhill into your community, into Discord, into a place where they're like, oh my God, the wiki is made by actual people. And I could do that too. There's this really, no one is intending for this to be. Actually, let me make one more point about article feedback before I come back to this. The great thing about article feedback is, okay, that didn't say this again. The great thing about article feedback is the feedback doesn't just live like on the talk page or in Discord and it gets kind of erased if no one sees it. It sticks around forever on this kind of collated list. And if you're wondering, yes, this list of article feedback is using Bucket under the hood. And the thing that is excellent about this is when I was saying earlier, you have people coming in all the time and saying, what can I do to help the wiki? This page is exactly that. It's literally like 1,000, maybe more than 1,000 things. How many things are on here? 2,500 things that could be fixed on the wiki and haven't been yet. Like, granted, not all of these are trivial for some random person to do, but you could totally imagine one of these, or all of them even, just nerd sniping someone into really, really giving a shit about the wiki. There's probably 30% of these are some things that people could do without needing any previous context about how wikis work. And this is so much better than, I don't know, saying here's a list of stubs or here's, the category of incomplete articles, or, most of the time that people do this sort of trying to collate things that people can help with, it's not specific enough and it's not friendly to new people. And a lot of these things really, really are friendly to new people. Granted, some of these are probably wrong, but that's part of the conditioning process. So article feedback is, honestly, all these things fit into this two-sided cycle where it's almost like a I don't wanna call it a gig economy because that has such, like, negative connotations, but it's more like both sides of this are helpful because you get the feedback from the people leaving the feedback, and that increases the chance that they actually become part of the community, and then the end result is it creates this corpus of work to be done that is great for people that are maybe not on their very first edit, but are maybe on, like, their 5th edit and they wanna do more. This is a purely positive feedback loop, and this is the same is kinda true for Search Digest. Now, one last thing I wanna say, when I demo this is I was saying earlier that, um, people don't realize that the wiki is made by normal ass people. One of the most insidious things that you can do is to build up the mystique of the wiki team. Capital W, capital T, the wiki team. As if this is some group of perfect creatures that you can't join and you can't, people get scared off of contributing because they think, okay, yeah, even though there's an edit button, the wiki team is in charge of everything and I can't be part of that. And if I do it imperfectly, then I'm just toast. And there's a lot of things that you can do to try and fix this because honestly, this is also for me in the category of friction. It's a different type of friction, but it is still friction nonetheless. And one thing I really, really like doing for this is this little recent changes feed in the sidebar. And this is something where the technical implementation is honestly a little bit complicated, although I think Momo has a version of this that should work using just like a gadget. So you might want to ask him about it later. But the high level idea is we just show the recent changes that have happened in the sidebar. That's all there really is to it. And the value of this is all these people who spend all their time, like if you hide this recent changes section from the sidebar, there's almost no indication anywhere on here that this is made by humans, right? There's no like last edited by, there's no anything. So you would be forgiven for thinking that the wiki team is perfect or that it's even at this point, maybe it's written by AI or something. God, who knows? And if you can just surface the list of recent changes and say, hey, this user, this dipshit cook me blocks 3 minutes ago made a redirect. And you can even click the diffs. You can see, oh my God. Okay, that doesn't actually look like a diff, but this is a good example of someone added the release date for this clue scroll. That's pretty cool. And now they're seeing what is this weird syntax? Is this wow? Maybe that's how the wiki works under the hood. I could click edit and I could see wow, there's even more stuff. This is crazy. This is awesome. And I want to make the point that this is not hypothetical at all. This is not like me guessing as to what could eventually work to get someone to contribute. Because actually, the reason I care so much about this recent changes sidebar thing is that something precisely like this that existed on the skin that Fandom had in 2009. They had a recent changes sidebar, and someone was vandalizing some page, and I saw it. And you can go check if you really want to. My first edit on the RuneScape wiki was yelling at someone on their talk page for vandalizing. And honestly, if this sidebar didn't exist, if there wasn't some way to pull back the curtain and show, hey, it's not just something you read, it's something that real ass people are contributing to. If you can do that, then you're going to end up with a lot of really curious, really good contributors. And I don't know, I think this is again in the category of ask people how they started editing and then do more of whatever that thing was because holy shit, it works really well. Okay, back to the slides. What do we have next? Discord. Discord is a huge part of, I think, reducing friction for new editors. Nobody wants to read a style guide or some project doc. What you should do if there's people who are interested in contributing to something is you should get them into Discord and make it super easy for people to talk to the existing editors. This is this is just a far better way to organize projects. And there's legitimate concerns about, okay, what do you do about people that don't want to use Discord? I I'm not going to try to address that in this. I just want to say for the, let's say, like 80 or 90% of people who do want to use or are willing to use Discord, it is it is a complete game changer for what you can do. I honestly can't believe that I spent like 7 years doing wiki stuff, like trying to build wiki communities without some extensive real-time chat like Discord. It's unbelievable how much it has just completely, utterly changed what's possible. And so if you use Discord, think about friction still, even as you do that. Don't, if you can avoid it, try not to have extensive verification and like requirements to talk. Try to keep the rules minimal because it's the same sort of thing where I have here also on the sidebar, we have a chat on Discord link. And the point is to get people as easily as possible to go from like, I don't know what's going on, click, and then they're talking within hopefully like 10 seconds. You need to strike while the iron's hot because the interest that people have in contributing or digging deeper into how this stuff works is temporary, and you need to make the most of it while it's there. So whatever you can do to make it so you can communicate with those people very, very quickly, the better off you're going to be. And I want to be clear that this is especially true for people working on projects. This is purely anecdotal, but I think people are about 5 times more likely to stick around editing if you can get them, just kind of, if you can pull them into the existing community and have them talk and ask questions on Discord. This, and we've been sort of operationally doing this for a while. So this Reddit post about Search Digest, um, we don't. You may notice we don't actually link to special Search Digest anywhere in this entire message. We have right here. We have a picture of an example of what it looks like, but we don't actually link there because we really don't want people just coming in and doing them without talking to us. What we want to do is we want to get them into the wiki Discord right there and then coordinate from then on. Because again, the point isn't getting the project done. Although honestly, I think the project gets done better if people are talking in Discord anyway. The point is to keep them around after the fact. And this is just it's so effective. It's like unbelievably effective. So that's great. I told some of you that there was going to be a slide on here that was just the word empathy in Comic Sans, and here it is. And I want to be clear about what I mean by this, which is there's a lot of things that seem like really common sense stuff to longtime editors, and readers don't know them. Readers don't understand anything about how the wiki works, and that's okay. And a lot of experienced wiki editors have forgotten how confusing some things are when you've never edited before. These are things like, did you know that literally anyone can edit? There's no wiki team, there's no application process. You just click and then you fix something and then you save it, and it takes like 5 seconds and then you're done. A lot of people don't know that your edits are immediately live. You can have just a direct impact in seconds. And the biggest one I think is that edits can be undone. No matter how much you might screw up a page, someone else can fix it. And this is a big part of, I think, why wikis have worked is it's actually a lot less effort to remove bad stuff than it is to put it there in the first place. And you just want to make it possible for people to say, I broke this thing and I don't know exactly how to fix it. And you need to be nice to people when they do that. So I really encourage all of you to put yourself in the shoes of someone who has never edited before. And this is not an easy thing. It's really not, but put yourself in their shoes. Try and figure out what is harder for them than you're probably realizing. Um, and strike while the iron's hot. You have to understand that people's interest in this is temporary and can go up and down depending on what happens. And there's some basic things like, treat people kindly. Like that sounds like an obvious thing, but it's clearly not obvious to everyone. Uh, Try and explain the reasoning for if you're gonna like revert someone's edit that was made in good faith. Try and give them a reason. Try and like just be nice. Try because the person who did something that was 80% right and 20% wrong is someone who, again, if you get them into Discord, if you get them communicating with you, can be a meaningful contributor. The hard part was actually giving a shit enough to edit. The part where they didn't do it perfectly is not a reason to shun them. And this sounds really reasonable when I say it, but it seems to be much harder to do in practice than I would like it to be. And I think one corollary of this is that bad admins, like people that drive away new contributors, they have a much larger negative impact than you can possibly measure. Bad admins suck. And I say this as someone who, okay, I'm usually not the one being the bad admin, but we've on RuneScape, we've lived through periods of where the main people that were doing counter vandalism or like interacting with these new contributors were just like the least empathetic people in the world, and they would yell at people for using American spelling when it should have been British, or not formatting their lists correctly, or whatever else. And this killed the flow of new editors for years. You know, people if people make an attempt to help and they get smacked down for not doing it entirely perfectly based on some system that they didn't know existed, they're probably not going to contribute again. And the reason I talk about this is not that you should be nice for the sake of being nice. It's because it makes the wiki better. If you and I both have wikis and I'm really kind and really engaging with the new contributors, and you're the opposite, a year from now, my wiki is just going to be better than yours. It's going to have better content. It's going to have a more active group of people. It's going to have smarter people. It's just that's you're gonna win by putting yourself in the shoes of these people, and first of all, trying to reduce the friction that you probably can't see from the vantage point you have as a wiki admin that's been doing things for a decade or something. But secondly, just engage with them, be nice, understand that like everyone here is trying to help. So that's empathy for you. So I'm going to come back. I told you I was going to come back to this quote about the Wikipedia being impossible. Um, because this is actually kind of my entire worldview, specifically the second part. Once you confront the fact that it works, you have to shift your expectation of what else that is impossible in theory might work in practice. I think it's kind of a travesty that we haven't really figured out the theory for why wikis work. We haven't optimized the hell out of it. Uh, and I think the fact that we didn't is a big part of why we don't live in a world where this kind of view of things became dominant. Evan Kelly, I think when he wrote this in 2008, it was a time of of great optimism. I think this was written like a week before Obama won the Iowa caucus in 2008, and people had all these really positive feelings about what was going to happen on the internet. And clearly, this guy had a future in mind of an internet that was based on positive sum cooperation and the shared building of things. And this is obviously not really the world we ended up living in. And because shit really hit the fan after that. Wikipedia's famous minimal bureaucracy that is called out repeatedly in this essay, which I'll link to you guys later. That bureaucracy kind of calcified into something that created friction where previously there was very little. I would say that fandom ate up a lot of the residual interest in wiki adjacent stuff. Facebook sort of social networked everything. The financial crisis happened and ushered in a new era of cynicism that we're still kind of in. So I've been spending a lot of time grappling with why this wiki style cooperation didn't revolutionize everything else. Because the more I think about it, I think the failure was at an execution level, not that the ultimate idea simply can't generalize elsewhere. And I wanna figure out what we can do to make that happen because it's so fucking frustrating to me that it feels like we could have had a very different internet today if we had the right tools circa 2008 to understand why Wikipedia succeeds in practice and not, quote, "in theory." I think we deserve a better theory. And if you zoom out a little bit, I think what basically happened is that the organizations that had billions of dollars were the ones that could afford to do the research and optimize their product for maximum engagement. So Facebook, TikTok, all those guys. A huge amount of the state of the art research on recommendation systems over really the last 15 or 20 years have been from those guys and Google, reinforcement learning everything to death, minimizing friction at all costs in the service of maximizing time spent on the site. And I think that the highest level point I want to make here is that if you squint a little bit, especially at the friction part, this is actually very similar to what we want to do with wikis, except the goal is to maximize the amount of cooperative building that happens. We really don't give a fuck how many people use the site or how much time people spend on it. We're not trying to like maximize their attention. We're trying to maximize the amount of cooperative building that happens. And I don't really think there's anything fundamental that makes the goal that the Facebooks of the world have easier to optimize for than what we want. It's just that they had the resources and the incentives to solve it, and we kind of haven't. So if we want a grand theory for why wikis work, this is my best stab at it. Is I think number one, most people are inclined towards cooperation, but you need to make it really easy for them. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And that gets into the friction. And you need to be pragmatic, creative, empathetic, and just absolutely relentless about making this easy for them. It is an optimization problem more than anything else. And if you do it well, you end up with an incredible wiki. Like I really I want you guys to take away from this not like, oh, we should do Search Digest specifically, but like the idea that the thing you should be optimizing for is the health of this editor community. And there's a lot of really low hanging fruit, obvious things you can do that kind of help you hack it. And the last part, this is the part that I'm least confident about, but I honestly think this probably generalizes far beyond wikis. So that's about all I got here. We That took a bit longer than I was hoping for, but if you thought this was interesting and you're trying to figure out what can I do, besides let's implement some of these things on our wikis. Uh, the first is I want to figure out what else we can build that fits into this general category of things that will create more editors where there currently aren't any. I have some ideas for this. I said before something resembling high scores for something I don't really know what could kind of go a long way. There's I think there's probably room for something resembling an achievement system that is not terrible. I think everyone sort of takes a sharp breath when they hear that because the various attempts that fandom has made to do this have been just terrible. I think stuff that can grab people after their first edit, like really that's a critical time. I keep saying strike while the iron's hot. I think it's ridiculous that after someone pokes their head out and makes an edit, we're not immediately like, "Oh my god, come in, come join, do this." The best that we get right now is at least in stock MediaWiki is a little alert in one of the two notification systems that MediaWiki has that says, "Thanks for your first edit." And I think that's bad. I think anything that is automated thanking people for stuff that is the system thanking you rather than a real ass person with blood in their veins. I think honestly, I would probably rather not have that than have. I mean, what I'd rather have is something good, but I'd rather have nothing than that. So that's thing number one. Let's think about what else we can build. And one other area to think about things we can build is. Let me see if I can pull this up. Media 27. Here we go. So this is a fascinating graph to me. Can you guys see this? Yep. Okay. So this is something that was being shown around at the Wikimedia hackathon in Milan, and it's kind of a funnel of all of humanity and how they relate to Wikipedia. And there's 70% of the people in the world have internet. 65% of them are using some wiki content. About 40% know what Wikipedia is. About 30%, 20 to 30% are readers. And then there's a huge drop. Like I don't really care about the donors part, but there's a huge drop between this 1.5 billion readers and this 273,000 editors. Does anyone know like what the ratio between those two numbers is? It's about 5,000. So that means that there's there's 5,000 readers for every one editor. And when I saw that, I was like, is there something we can do that exists kind of in this middle layer that is not hunker down and edit a bunch of pages, but is something that is almost like a proof of life, is the tiniest possible contribution that someone can do that would still be like marginally beneficial to the wiki. Because again, the point is not whether that specific thing is really important. It's that if you can get them to do that one thing, it's a lot easier to get them further down into this funnel of editors. So I'd really encourage you all to think about what that could look like for you. What is something that you could get like 2% or 5% of your readers to do? Because I think if we're able to be creative about that, then I think there's still a lot of free lunches to be had here. I don't think this is something that has been optimized to death yet. It really hasn't been optimized almost at all. And I think this is an area where, given how much success we've had with these, 4 or 5 programs that are just things that I came up with, they weren't coming from some really deep study of how the world works, or they're not downstream of a theory. Like this grand theory is actually just downstream of the practice, not the other way around. I think there's a lot of room to keep finding more things that fit in that category. And so I just want all of you to think about the editor community as a thing you can optimize for. So more anecdotal evidence about what projects work and don't work is incredibly useful for anyone trying to make their wiki community great. I would love for more of you to be willing to experiment, be willing to try things that may not work. Uh, that could even involve enlisting other people in the experiments. And there's a lot of things where the category of suggestion is not a terrible idea fundamentally, but the existing execution for an attempt at this was not very good. The classic example is anytime I tell Wikipedia people about our article feedback system, they freak out because they have tried many, many times to do article feedback in a way that works and is helpful. And every time they've done it, it has failed miserably. I think the latest version was called Article Feedback V5, which should give you a sense of how V's 1 through 4 went. And they're just not really interested in it because they haven't made it work. And I think it's something that is not a terrible idea on a category level. It's just the execution was missing the point or not meeting the readers where they were. And I just think there's a lot of things like that where there's some version of it that is actually a good idea and the execution matters quite a lot. The last thing is I do want to think about systematically optimizing this. There is a whole class of academic researchers. So I mentioned earlier that someone did a study on what happened to fandom when they started letting people disable anonymous editing. That was done by these two guys named Benjamin Mako Hill and Aaron Shaw, and they are people who their their primary academic career is built around trying to understand the nature of this sort of collaboration. What causes people to contribute to wikis? What causes open source projects to succeed or fail? And if you talk to them, they will say that They have a lot of things that they would like to do, and they are lacking in practical data sets to do anything with them. The firms that exist won't share their data, or they're just not interested in this set of problems. Fandom specifically, like if their entire approach to data science and data analysis was based on ads, they didn't even consider the idea that the editor pipeline was a separate value creation spigot that they should be optimizing for. So they have a lot of ideas. They have the ability to apply meaningful methodology to some of these experiments we might want to run. Like something we could do is say, let's try turning on this recent changes sidebar for half of the editors and leave it off for the other half in some sort of sticky way where it's not like flipping a coin for every page view you do. And let's see what happens. Like, does that actually create a meaningful, measurable difference in the thing that you care about? You can do that for really any of these systems. And the more we can get hard data on what works, and not just on a single wiki. Like if we just did this on OSRS wiki, there would be lots of questions about whether it actually broadly applies or if there was something just specific that happened maybe at a specific point in time for RuneScape that made it less effective. So the more that we can work together and get a lot of wikis interested in this being a thing we can optimize for, it drastically increases the chance that we can come up with actionable things to do and a theory for why they work. And that is what I want to do, because ultimately I want to make really good wikis. Trying to come up with a theory is a means to making good wikis. And I think there's just a lot of room for more collaboration between everyone that wants to do anything related to this. So thank you. That has been a full hour. I am done talking. I don't think I have any slides after this. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Stop streaming. Okay. Any thoughts? Any thinkies? Got some sort of ping somewhere. Does anyone want to talk? Is this a system that people can go?
Hey there, Cook, and everybody. I assume
Hold
this
on one
means
second.
that.
I think my audio is not working.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll wait for you to be able to actually hear me to make sure I'm not saying anything.
Sorry, can you repeat what you were going to say?
Yes, I'll talk as much as you want. Can you hear me fine then, Cook and everybody? I gotta check on that first. I hear a yes. Great. Hi, I'm Duskfire. I work on running the Deadlock Wiki, as well as the Star Citizen Wiki. I was an administrator, and I worked to run the Team Fortress Wiki years and years ago. Got myself a sparkly hat. It's all very exciting. First off, excellent presentation. I loved hearing about these insights, and I do absolutely agree that turning people into editors is a crucial part of the whole process. One thing I wanted to say that I've been thinking about recently is also the conversion from contributor to moderator, editor, trusted, that sort of thing. And one thing that I want to put in recently that I think would be helpful, and that we've done before, is to pretty aggressively, especially in Discord, give people roles that emphasize them being a trusted person, that they are somebody important, that they are somebody we care about. Now, of course, that kind of means the whole community starts to trust them, right? So even when people have only put in like 10 or 20 or 30 edits that are good and they're chatting in Discord, give them a role called trusted, right? Just let them make pages. Some people will restrict page creation for new accounts, and I think that's very fair. But if somebody comes in and says, hey, I have this idea for a page and I want to make it and I think this is important, give them a role called trusted. That gives them a couple other things in a slightly different color in Discord, and all of a sudden they feel important and they feel cared about and they feel like they are contributing to something that cares back. And I think that would be a really big improvement. We have at the Deadlock Wiki pretty aggressively made people moderators because it was all starting new. And the whole team was together with bringing people into this fold of people talking and people making projects together. And that step, I think, is critical for building a team that will last even longer. Another important thing, very quickly, is to make sure they don't all only talk in the moderator chat. It's very important to talk in the moderator chat sometimes, but wrong suggestion. Do not have like technical like page organization chats in the moderator chat because people won't see it, and you want people to see how active and cool you are. I think that's just the one thing I want to throw out there is do consider, obviously turning readers into basic contributors is important, but considering the next steps to really bring people in, feel trusted and cared for, and that they are somebody important, I think is a great next step. I thought I'd bring that out.
Yeah, I agree with like 95% of that. I think yeah, I mean this is one step of the funnel, right? You know, the way I see it is if I could snap my fingers and make everyone in the world care about wikis as much as I do, that would be great. And you kind of need to take it one step at a time and understand that there are distinct phases to all of it. And I have a whole bunch of thoughts about what do you do once someone's poked their head in? How do you get them more involved? How do how do you find I mean, it's still kind of like a lot of it for me is finding projects, but on a slightly different level than before. Um, how do you how do you engage these people, get them to care long term? What can you do to maximize the chance that they're going to be around in a year? I have a whole different honestly, I think at some point that's going to be an entirely separate Yap session about things you can do to build up the set of core editors. I think I totally agree that like one of the failure modes that happens on a lot of wikis is stuff that happens in admin chats that doesn't need to be in admin chats. We have, at least for RuneScape, have tried to push that into more public places. You know, it's sort of like the what's the idea in security? It's like you want to give people like the least permissions that they need to do something. But I think this is kind of the obvious. You want to have these conversations in in the broadest possible place that is not going to cause problems. Yeah, you don't want to have your discussions about banning people or some super secret conversation you're having with the game developer in public. But yeah, if it's what do we do about this module, or let's coordinate covering this new update, yeah, do all that stuff in super public places. I think we have on RuneScape, we've pretty well succeeded at doing that. We do still have admin channels, but they're basically just like I think the majority of messages in it are like happy birthdays at this point.
I
So
think we do something similar. We're just talking
yeah,
about bot stuff half the time.
yeah. So yeah, so something we've never done is like really actively giving people roles for stuff. I I could definitely see that being net positive. I could also see it having like possibly some negative consequences, and I'm curious if you've had any experience with people being like, "Why don't I have this?" Like how because
Hmm.
we don't have those roles, but what we do have is um, essentially like a whitelist in recent changes where if you're on this list, then your edits won't need to get reviewed by anybody, and we'll
Right.
have
I think
people be
it's like
like,
patrolling, right?
yeah. So we'll get like, yeah, how do people we get people asking, "How do I get on this list?" And it's kind of like, you shouldn't like 'cause I think the thing I've noticed is that people definitely like getting a little bit of recognition, but they hate not getting that recognition about 10 times more, if that makes sense. Like
Yes, because there's people out there that are fighting for the recognition only,
mhm,
or at least that's their primary goal, and that's not necessarily what we're looking for. I haven't faced that issue on wiki things so far much. I do it in other discords that I see a lot that issues around moderator because people like love moderating other people they find annoying.
mhm,
But on wikis, I haven't found people feeling like they're hunting for that
yeah,
responsibility.
that's good. I think there's an age component to that also, I think, where
Oh yeah, I'm
if
old
you're
guy. That's just the way of it.
well, no, but, like, I mean, even like, I think there's things that will work for like the median age of a RuneScape player has famously gone up 1 year every year and is now sitting at about 30. So there's things that can work for us that wouldn't work very well for like a Roblox wiki or even necessarily Minecraft, where it's just I think a lot of people age out of caring about those hats. But yeah, it's definitely a trade off. I think.
Um, I think there's some people that have raised their hand and want to chat as well. So
Yeah.
I'll hang
Okay.
around, but
Yeah.
I'll
How do
pass
I
the
do this?
mic.
Is it just the one? I can't tell. Oh.
Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me just fine?
Yes, you are good.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear you fine.
Well, thank you very much. I wanted to kind of dive in a little bit on this because I heard Dustfire talk about trusted roles and the such. So I figured I'd, pop in and basically say hello and all that. Also, a little bit of shout out to Violin 1101 for mirroring this chat because somebody didn't think about the Discord event having Fivity limiter, like having a limiter. So I think the idea of having a trusted role in terms of the wiki stuff is a good idea because I'm a contributor for the main RuneScape 3 wiki, and I'm one of the recent administrators for the RuneScape Dragon Wilds wiki. And I've seen quite a few people make the temporary accounts to, grief pages, convert them from main space to like talk pages or something incredibly weird like that.
Are you talking about? I think that's just one person.
I know it's one person, but the point I'm trying to get is I like the idea of having a trusted role so that way members of the community with those roles, or at least want to aim for getting those roles, can do a twofold thing where one, they provide, help towards building the wiki, the guides, maybe some of the calculators for some of the games, and they also keep an eye out for people who like the person who constantly creates these temporary accounts or just creates auto-confirmed ones to grief these pages. They can become trusted in that way because we trust them to give us, the information that, hey,
But
there's
I
someone
guess
doing this and that.
my question is what is the actual function of that role in that scenario? Because I'm personally I'm not a fan of roles that sort of serve no functional purpose. Like if you want to say that the function is that it makes them more interested in contributing to the wiki long term, that's definitely one thing. And I will admit that there's some people that I've nominated for adminship where the main point was not, they need these tools right now. It's just I think it's going to be good for the wiki overall if they stick around, and they're more likely to stick around if they're an admin. But I'm not sure. Like I don't understand why that a trusted role is something you need to report vandalism. I'm not sure why
Oh,
it's
no,
something you
no,
need.
no. What I'm
To,
saying is it's not a requirement for them to report vandalism or someone with some kind of mischievous uh intentions for these wikis. My point on the thing, also, hi, Mudscape. My point I'm trying to make is trusted people, the people who have that role for these specific wikis, they're trusted to stick around long term, but they can also help out in like a moderator capacity where they keep an eye on, like the huge wikis. Because RuneScape 3, old school RuneScape, they're bigger than like Dragon Wilds at this point. So us over on Dragon Wilds, we don't need like huge complicated systems. But
Yeah,
for the
so
base,
you're talking about what RuneScape has as the custodian role,
yeah.
right?
I'm sorry, I'm just like not braining at this point.
Yeah. No, I actually I had a question for Cook. You brought up a bunch of things that RuneScape has done that was good for gaining editors.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything that you tried that just really didn't go well?
I've never lost everything we no. It's
That's great. Neither have I.
yeah. It's. I think there's a lot of variations on these things that have not worked very well. And again, I want to caveat this by saying I don't think that necessarily means that the entire concept doesn't work. It just means we didn't I think a lot of it was poor execution. So some of those are like trying to get external communities, so like other discords that have guides or monster strategy stuff for RuneScape or skilling methods or something, trying to get them involved in contributing to the wiki. And I think that mostly didn't work because we didn't understand. There's two things. One is we didn't understand their incentives very well. The other is we were trying to make them fit into our specific sort of tone of how we write things on the wiki. And it turns out that is very hard to ask someone who is not really a writer but is very good at like killing stuff in RuneScape and can piece together like some bullet points in Discord, asking them to write long form prose it just doesn't really work. So that's definitely one example of
Yeah.
something that doesn't work very well. I'll have to think about other stuff because there's other things that aren't quite so neatly about getting new editors that we've tried that haven't really worked. I mean, we've done posts on Reddit and stuff about contributing to the wiki in kind of broad strokes, and those generally don't go very well. Like the more
I
specific you can be, the better. The more you can say like, "Hey, this update just came out and we need help doing this, 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 and this."
Yeah.
The better it's going to go. But if you're just going to generally be like, "Help the wiki," that's not actionable for people generally.
I do agree
make
with you on
friends with
that,
the
Cook.
subreddits. Make
I do
friends
agree
with
with
lots
you
of
on
subreddits.
I do agree quite a bit on this, and there's two things I want to bring up. One thing, and I'm looking at the Yap text channel right now, and this one was brought up by Supika. And they say, I wish there were more guides for non-English people. I think that if there are people that can speak in not just English, but also have uh people who can turn English writing into into like a very accurately translated thing that's in for non-English speakers of certain games, that would count towards them having a trusted role because we
But like,
as
what are we doing here exactly? Like, are we?
well, I'm trying to get back onto the whole thing of like turning readers into editors, and again, they put up a good point where most of us on administration teams or on moderation teams are English speaking. We have either very little or no way to translate from English to other languages. And that's
Like,
that
what's
should
the
be.
goal exactly? Like, what are we? How is this going to create new editors?
It creates new editors because it allows people who do not speak English natively or have sufficient uh, fluency in that language to have someone else translate the pages, the guides from
But
English to
what
another language
the
that they
page are
can read.
the pages here like article content or are they like how to do stuff?
I think it's just any part of it, but again, what
Like
they're
my
bringing up here is like at some point a non-English space like this server or a general hub should exist so people can talk in their own language. But it's hard when all editors are scattered all across little wikis, and worse
Yeah,
when
I
we
just
as British
I don't
pop
know. I
up.
feel like this is a huge scope increase, and I'm not totally sure how this fits into the like. Are we talking?
All
And it's just not even clear to me if we're talking about translating
I agree with
like
Cook.
guides on how to do stuff on the wiki, which I'm sort of philosophically opposed. I'm not opposed to translating them. I'm sort of opposed to them really even being the primary way that that information gets shared. Um,
I don't know. All I'm saying is, and I'm using their words, so not everything that is going on comes from me. But from what I was reading, I was like, that's a good idea that some people who do not speak English could help translate some of these pages, or at least we include sub pages
I mean,
where it
are we just talking about like the general I don't know. I just feel like we're talking about something very, very
niche.
far off. No, it's not niche. It's just it's a big topic and it's a hard topic, and
Yeah,
I've not seen it solved very well. And I just I'm not sure this is like
I I don't
the direction to
know.
go.
Again, this is just me
Thanks,
bringing up
Brian.
someone else's con.
Yeah.
But another thing I want to bring up, and this is nothing from the Yap channel. This is actually from the Dragonlance wiki. So credit to Kepler. Uh, he asks, and this is two questions, by the way. He asks, how did you initiate and maintain the conversation to have the OSRS/RuneScape Jagex mods to collaborate with the wiki? And how should wiki
Wait.
admins start this conversation with game devs for
This
other
is
games and wikis?
so
Think,
we're gonna have a whole talk about that at some point. That's not.
Okay.
I think that's probably gonna be the third session for this.
Okay.
Um, I I have a lot to say on that topic, but I think it's maybe better for the
Another chat, yeah.
yeah.
I just wanted to bring that up because
Mm.
Cap tagged me in
Yeah.
the wiki
let
Discord
Yeah.
to ask
let's
the
be respectful of
question.
everybody's time here, if you don't mind, Kaitila, because they are here for a
I
specific reason.
I know. I'm not trying to use up everyone's time.
Okay. Definitely like you can message me privately if you want to talk more about that because there's some
Yeah.
things I think you guys should probably be doing. But it's definitely the sort of conversation you don't want like 52 people uh eavesdropping on. Who was next? Was it Spiders Jorg? I think it was Jorg.
Hello, everyone. You have no idea how many times the Spiders Georg thing happens.
Yeah.
I'm Sheriff. I'm an admin on the Mujanks wiki. You can also call me Georg if you prefer. This is somewhat related to a point that was brought up earlier about, I guess, like age in wiki editors. Marcos also brought something up in chat about how a lot of things that would work on RuneScape wiki wouldn't really work on the Minecraft wiki simply due to the difference in age demographic between the two wikis. We in the Mujanks wiki were also a community of a lot of young people who are generally speaking maybe not as technically versed or familiar with the concept of wikis. They're like this sort of nebulous thing for them. We have a lot of like misconception in the community about how wikis work simply due to previous assumptions they might have from Wikipedia and how editing and publishing your edits works on there. And I feel like a lot of like just general guides for editing wikis are very text-based and very like hidden in some somewhat esoteric places. And I'd like to ask if you like what the value in YouTube tutorials for making for editing wikis is, because I feel like that's something I've never seen on YouTube,
Yeah.
just like basic wiki editing guides. And
Yeah.
wanted to know if you at Weird Gloop have ever thought about something like that. I've considered it a lot for Mugenics because I know personally that this would be a resource I would be able to learn with incredibly efficiently. So I just wanted
Yeah.
to like maybe gather some general thoughts about that. Sorry for
Yeah.
talking too quick.
No, it's a really good question. I think so. Is River here? I don't think River is on the call, but River is someone who works for Weird Gloop and previously was at WikiGG,
Oh
and
yeah, I'm
she
familiar.
used to do um, a lot of really deep dive tutorials. I'm not if someone has a link to those, maybe that would be useful. I'm not sure if I can find it offhand. Deep dive tutorials on honestly pretty niche topics.
Oh yeah, I also remember her blog.
Uh, on like cargo or like deep dive into this, that, or the other thing. And usually the idea was someone asked her to do something and she's just kind of going through it anyway. It's not necessarily with the goal of um, we're going to make a guide for the sake of making a guide. It's like, I'm going to solve this problem. And while it's happening, uh, we're going to record it and see what happens. I don't have a really clear answer on whether those get a lot of usage or views. I can only kind of speak for myself and say I would personally probably not find that the most useful way to learn stuff. But that's mostly just because my preference and or I guess my philosophy on this is if you're gonna have a much harder time like when someone is reading a guide, generally, not always, but generally they're looking for some specifics. They're looking to see whether this guide has the answer to some question that they're looking for. They're not necessarily trying to read it front to back as like a reference manual. And it's possible I'm just wrong about this, and this actually is a thing that a lot of people do. But what that means for me at least is that like um, videos and to a lesser extent like long text guides are useful as reference manuals but not as like a thing that I'm just going to go and absorb everything there is to know about this topic by reading it. And that to me, and maybe this is hopelessly naive, but the best thing you can do is for all the people that potentially would be watching this video or reading this editing guide or something, if you can just get them, they're going to get more out of a 5-minute conversation with you, whether that's in text, on voice, whatever. They're going to just get more out of that, and they're going to get their questions answered, and they're going to be far more likely to hang out and stick around um, if they can have that. I very strongly believe that, like, personal conversations kind of clear everything else in terms of, effectiveness at both conveying information and keeping people around. And by the way, if someone wants to make videos for this stuff, I don't think they wouldn't be useful. I'm not sure it's like the single, like, per hour best use of your time, but it's not like I'm not saying don't do that, I'm just saying, like, if I personally had a limited amount of time, I would focus much more on conveying stuff one-on-one rather than trying to make something that is gonna solve future people's problems.
Yeah, I would agree with that if you don't mind me jumping in here.
Yeah.
One thing that I've seen with videos is that they are very helpful. And somebody usually gets the idea that they're going to make all the videos. And that's reasonable at the time. And they'll make a whole series of videos, and there'll be multiple of them. And it's them talking and it's all that. But it kind of goes a bit against the idea of wikis, because if somebody comes along or you change your policies as a team around some part of it, you can't go back and change it unless you record a new video that's the same length and has the same content. And nobody really wants to do that because that first person might not be there, and then your entire series is outdated. I think little videos, from what we've seen, a little bit like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, that supplement your help page around certain sections, much more valuable, easier to change in the future, and you can work it into the wiki's video display if you have one. Most do, I think. And then people can also look at that and look at the text at the same time, and then they start looking at the wiki more as a wiki and the text and editing. That I think will work better.
I want to add a bit more on what Dusk says is I think in some ways you can do videos to kind of like do the audio visual stuff, but if people just want to listen to audio bit files like let's say you would just want to listen to certain sounds or music tracks from the game, and you want to just look that up on the wiki without having to go straight to the part of the game or whatever have you that lets you listen to that music, go right on ahead. And I'm going to use Dragon Wilds for a bit here on
Sorry,
this one.
is this coming back around to editor stuff?
Nope. I'm coming back to like Dusk saying like I think it's a good idea that you have little videos to show what's going on, and that there's also audio files to play as well for certain tones, so people can recognize what they're hearing.
What?
Ay,
I don't quite understand is like for guides for editors or what?
No, I mean like
Like just for
like
like
how there's
in
music
like
tracks.
game? I mean, like you're just saying you want to have like audio for the game, right?
Yeah, not
Okay. I mean,
not
I
like
think
a
that's
full
agreeable.
narration.
I think that's agreeable. I'm
Yeah.
not totally sure how that relates to the original question.
Like I was gonna say, like in Dragon Walls, there was like anime events in there, so you have to listen to what type of anime event you want, but you don't know what each event sounds like. So you look it up on the
Yeah,
wiki, and it's
I
there.
sure. I don't understand how this relates to the original topic. Sorry, there's sorry, we're
I think I've said as much as I can on that front.
okay.
I do have another question related to turning readers into editors, but I know that Pretzel has waited for a long time, so
Okay.
if
Yeah,
that's
sure.
cool, I would let
Pretzel
ask their question, and then maybe after I could ask.
Bring in the pretzel.
If you guys want to, can someone post the questions doc again? If you want to just like add more things to that, and we can kind of turn that into a conversation. Where the heck is there like a list of people that have raised their hands, or is it just like in? I have to scroll back or something.
You should be able to see it. I see it in the audience list. So the only person left who has their hand raised is Pretzel. Nobody else.
It's literally in the there. How do
Yes.
I?
You should be able to click them and bring them in. Or right click, I think.
There we go. Hey, there we go.
Pretzel, we believe in you. Speak for us.
Sorry, I'm kind of nervous because I've never been in this before, and well, I'm gonna introduce myself. My name is Pretzel. Well, Pretzel, you can call me whatever you want, I guess. I've been editing wikis for 5 years now, since I was a teenager. I'm currently 18, and I currently am the admin of a wiki called Poopedia. I think you might know it. It's on Merhis, and I'm not sure what to ask, but I'm gonna ask something from the document. Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna guess. I'm sorry. I'm trying to improvise. I'm not used to this, actually.
That's okay. I mean, this is a new thing. This is new to everybody. Don't worry.
Yeah, and it's live, so I'm kind of nervous.
It's okay.
So yeah. Do you think there will be a benefit for readers to realize that other readers are viewing the page? Similar to editors realizing that other editors are viewing a page through Discord.
Yeah, so this is Duty's question, right? Let me add him.
Yeah.
I think there we go.
Hello.
What's up, brother? Yeah. So this is a really interesting. I'd never really thought about that before. It could actually.
For other readers viewing a page.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of it's a weird thing because I couldn't tell you precisely what the benefit of that is, but it just feels kind of right somehow. You know what I mean? Like,
so I'm thinking that
oops.
Mike cutting out a bit. Duty. I can't tell if it's a
Yeah, I heard. I'm thinking. I didn't get the rest of that. He's dead, Jim.
This actually, I have a similar idea about that. Like, obviously, we'll talk about that. Like
Yeah.
readers, but also when the page was last edited.
Yeah.
Any of that information I think could be useful.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
that's true. I don't know if Duty is back or not, but yeah, historically, fandom actually did this for a while, and I remember it being controversial. I think it was a long time ago,
Test.
but there we
Hello,
go.
can you hear me?
Be
Okay.
alive.
So I'm thinking. So first of all, I'm Duties. I'm from. I'm an admin on the League of Legends wiki. I'm
Ooh,
thinking
that's a
back
big
to.
name.
I'm thinking back to like before I actually joined League of Legends wiki. I just happened to stumble after I joined. I stumbled across some old logs of like fandom had like a chat, like a web browser based chat, real
I've
time
seen
chat.
chat.
Fan
And like
Central.
Special chat, right?
yeah, special chat. And like everyone
Okay.
who was around during that area on Discord always reminisces as like those were the good times, you know.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I'd imagine like when you're editing, it's like it would be nice to have like someone there to help you. And like if you don't have a Discord account, you got to go set one up or something. But like special chat kind of circumvented all that. And so in my head, well, like you mentioned, like it would be nice to add like kind of like the human touch to pages as people are reading or editing. And I was just thinking like special chat kind of reminds me of that. I'm wondering if bringing something like that back would be a good idea.
Yeah, special chat is interesting because I don't have quite as positive of a view as maybe some other people do. So for context,
Mhm.
everybody, this was it was a special page that existed on fandom starting in about 2011, and they shut it
Yeah.
down probably by like 2017 or 18.
Well, sorry for interrupting, but that's what I was going to say. I joined fandom in 2020, 2021 when I was 13,
Yeah.
and I don't remember that. That's why.
Yeah. So it was I think the main limiting factor that I saw for special chat is are we I'll let everyone's here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna anytime someone wants to raise their hand, they can
Oh,
join.
hi Leafy, hi Valen.
But let's be
There
like
we
kind
go.
of careful about jumping in because I don't know if what you want to say is like related to this or not, and I just want to be a bit careful.
Sorry.
Yeah, it is a bit related. Okay, so let me do a bit of an intro. Hey everyone, so I admin multiple wikis like Pixel Gun 3D and Vampire Survivors, and also a bunch of smaller other wikis for like smaller indie games. And I do want to talk about like my point for Discord. So not everybody has like a Discord for like several years ago. But right now, it seems like people using Discord is more commonplace. For like especially for people in like game servers. And in the game servers, for example, you know, they start to have like wiki channels, like
Yeah.
a dedicated wiki channel, if not like a dedicated wiki Discord. And people started to like make use of that channel, and as a consequence, like make use of editing the wiki as well.
Yeah. So, hey, Duty, what I would say is that special chat never got very popular. It never really reached, from my perspective, the critical mass that you need for that to be like super duper useful. And I think part of that was just because you would just temporarily be there. You wouldn't keep the history. You wouldn't. It was just not built very well. It also required a wiki account, which we have to be honest with ourselves is a fairly high barrier for a lot of stuff. I think Discord is both just like strictly easier, and also these days, a lot of the people that you'd maybe, if I had to guess, probably like half of the people visiting the RuneScape wiki on any given day have a Discord account already. And when I said earlier, I can't believe that I spent, 7 years doing wiki stuff, like community building before we had Discord.
2 years doing only
Mhm.
talk pages. only talk pages with Hawaii community on the Team Fortress Wiki before IRC.
Yeah.
It was madness. You can
Yeah.
still see the chats.
So like it's definitely slowly getting better. I think for me, special chat is basically just a across the board worse version of Discord, unless you're someone that doesn't want to be in Discord. And I think if we're gonna try and improve it, I think the answer these days is probably not, let's make some brand. You have to meet people where they are, right? Let's not make some
Sure.
brand new thing. Let's try and figure out how to integrate the thing that we do have that people are using more effectively onto the wiki. And I think that is an area where there's a lot of really clever things still to be done that no one has considered yet. And that may be, a version of that I like. I said earlier, I would like it if we did something more aggressive after people make their first edit. What if we just pop them in Discord immediately? Like, is that going to be bad? I think
Interesting thought.
So maybe this is a good point for me to jump in. So hi,
yeah,
I'm Violin. I'm an admin or director on the Minecraft wiki, and yeah, so we also have like a massive Discord server, but we started our Discord server kind of late. So always it was the case that not everybody was on Discord, even some admins, and I think we still have at least one admin that only checks Discord like once every few months or so. So yeah, of course, Discord is great to keep in touch with everybody. But we also face some challenges, and so this is also where I bring up Zulip, which is our solution to some people not being able to access Discord. Like we have some Russian users, we have some Chinese users that really have a hassle with using Discord. And the big advantage of that is also that we can that all the chats are public without needing to log into Discord. So yeah, this is kind of I want to bring this up because it really depends on the wiki. So for our wiki, we found this solution, and also we are a very international wiki. We have like 14 language variants, which is why we need to take care of that. So, and international wikis are an entire topic unto themselves. Yeah.
International wikis are hard.
Yeah. And I guess this also brings me to my second point that I wanted to bring up, because I'm from the German Minecraft wiki originally, and we did have a program a few years ago. I think it might be a decade now, and Marcus already brought it up. We had a partner Minecraft server, which had like a partnership program with us. So by doing edits on our wiki, people could get ranks on the Minecraft server, and that was really a great thing. It worked reasonably well. People went over to our wiki, made some changes, and got rewarded for that. The way in which this worked was using the Gamepedia achievements and point system. So at the time they had like, you would gain a certain amount of points for doing edits and so on. I think it's even still there in fandom. I'm not sure if it still works. But yeah, basically at some point you would get a rank if you have reached some amount of wiki points. And my conclusion from that is that it was a cool thing, but what it didn't do was it didn't really keep people editing. Like the only person that I know of that is still active on the Minecraft wikis who started because of this program is Marcus. And most people just left after they got their rank. So this is kind of the point where what's really important is you need to give people tasks that they can do and specific projects instead of chasing just a high score, so to say. And
yeah,
this is also again where like the challenges come back again, because like the German wiki is much smaller and our tasks are much more boring, like translate this English article and copy this image from the English article. So yeah.
To be fair, I don't know if boring is bad. I think decomposable is good. Copying images
Yeah.
actually I think often works quite well. The things that scratch that itch often kind of are boring to a first approximation. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, because I think if you have a good way to measure contribution that is not obviously gameable and can't just be cheated with really trivial attempts, then a lot of things become a lot easier, right? Like I think if we went to Riot, for example, and said, "Hey, we want to do some project like this for League of Legends Wiki, where everyone who spends, whatever your metric is, spends X amount of time, gets 1,000 points, does some project or something." If we can just say, "Hey, we want to do this, and we think they should get like some skin or something," that's probably going to work. I can probably convince them to do that. The problem, though, is coming up with what the metric is that actually correlates with improvements to the wiki, right? Because on the one hand, yeah, you can keep coming up with projects, and I think one of the best things that all of you guys can do is get good at figuring out what those projects could be and packaging them up nicely. It is a skill. I'll send let me oh shit. I'll send a link to the archive of some of the ones we did for old school RuneScape. Like, you can do that, but it is absolutely time consuming for whoever is administrating it. And maybe we can come up with something that is a bit more automated, in the sense of, is there like something that resembles an achievement system that isn't terrible? I don't really know. It's a hard problem to solve. To the broader question of how do you get people to not just go away after they make their first edits, I think, again, the solution to that is, as far as there is a solution, is get them into Discord, get them into the community, give them like some bit of like a delayed gratification in a way. And you also have to realize that despite your best intentions, you're still going to get 80% of them to just immediately fuck off. And that's, I mean, that doesn't feel great, but 20% success rate where one of those people turns into like Marcus or something is good. You have to be willing to understand that you're not aiming for like 50-50 or something. If you can get 10%, 20% to stick around and become, basically you in 5 years, then that is absolutely like value added. But it's hard. It's really hard. One thing that I kind of briefly mentioned this in the talk, is I really like the idea of doing wiki merch as the reward for this. If we say, "Hey, if you help with this project, we'll give you like a Minecraft wiki shirt or a hoodie or whatever the thing is." Logistically, that's... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing that just came to mind, I'm recently observing in the Minecraft wiki that people are actually chasing high scores, so to say, and it is their edit counts, because we have a gadget that once you visit a user's user page, it says this user has made so and so many edits.
Yeah.
And this causes many users to just edit their user pages, which is kind of crazy. We had like a really active user page subsystem in our wiki for a while, and we've discussed how do we bring these people to actually edit the wiki itself instead of just discussing on their user pages about anything.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is great. They built a community, but this pure edit count would better be something that actually motivates.
Yeah, it's a great problem to try and solve. Like, is there some thing we can give people to optimize that is actually well correlated to actually doing useful stuff? Grolter in the chat here has mentioned the idea of doing doing kind of more of a GitHub style contribution graph where it's less about like, ooh, I'm gonna, make a bajillion edits in one day or something, and it's more kind of about filling out maybe the last year, maybe the last 2 years of contributions. That probably, I would guess, correlates better with meaningful contribution. Sure, people can still edit their user page once every day if they really want to. Maybe that is what would end up happening. But I
Yeah.
think one of the biggest goals that I think all of us should be looking for, and especially if we start like working with like academics, is try and figure out if there are metrics that are better for this. Because I
I
think
think
there's something to be done.
I think it'd be interesting if we showed that graph as like the cumulative edits across the site, like kind of like a special statistic that
Yeah.
has like graph of like kind of like showing that the site is alive, not
Yeah.
just like
No,
I did this much, but like
I
oh
like
wow, there are
something like
people that
that.
are working.
Yeah, I think that's a really, yeah, I mean, I don't know what happens if you show the number of daily editors on a graph on the main page. Do you have good things happen? Has anyone tried this? Like, I don't think we have. It's not obviously a bad idea to me. It might be a great idea. I think that this is like the exact like Duty definitely like right. By the way, is it duty or duties?
So I have a question.
Can we wait
Are
one
you going to
second?
do?
Very important
Okay,
question.
so sorry.
It's duties probably,
Okay.
but you can call me duty as well.
Okay, let's write those two things down just because the like, because I think you're right that cumulative like community statistics are the thing that we should be trying to get other, because I mean it's when you put it that way, it's really obvious. It's the thing we care about. So is there a way we can transfer that and make other people care about it? If all this effort that people are putting into doing stuff on their user pages can go into them recruiting other people, what if we just make this whole thing a pyramid scheme?
There's also there was like this
So
game that I
down for
played
this.
once that was like you had to tap away squares until the entire giant square was like
Oh
revealed or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
I forgot what it's called, but like it'd be also cool if it's like you personally could see how much you contributed to that graph.
Mhm.
Like without like having it being like a show off kind of feature.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh yeah, I contributed this amount. That'd be
Yeah.
kind of cool as
I
well.
mean, there's metrics like, I don't know, you could look at the amount of page views and multiply that by like what percentage of the text was like persisted by you, and like there's lots of things you can consider making if you have like enough sort of creativity and like compute capacity. So like I don't think it's out of the question that something of that nature is possible and could be done. I really like the idea of having a graph of the number of contributors somewhere very prominent. I think that is something I would be interested in, like A/B testing and seeing if that just kind of in aggregate makes people more likely to contribute in some way. Because I mean that's like the type of, when I'm saying like let's be creative about how we approach this. That's the sort of thing I'm thinking of. That and the are the things we can do to make the whole thing feel more alive by having like more readers, or having, or sorry, not more readers, but like making it clear that other people are reading it.
An idea that comes to mind immediately to me is Minecraft does these community challenges after each update where they say, oh yeah, go and mine like 10,000 or 10 million blocks of this kind of thing, and then you get some kind of reward. And maybe it would be great if we have like some big task that needs to be done as a community, and then we have a progress bar on the main page.
Yeah.
So this could probably also might be a great idea. I don't know if anyone has.
Yeah, I think there's this is like exactly the class of things I think we should be thinking about, because people really dig that stuff, right? People dig it when it's like a community contribution in a game. People dig it when it's like the Reddit April Fools, like, or W Place or anything like that. The more that we can tap into that, where it's like you're contributing to something that is actually like global in nature. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, honestly, just the few things that we've described today tap into something big enough that they are responsible for, doubling the number of people over some baseline. I think this is the exact set of things we need to be, like, drilling down on and making more sense of, because it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, Violin, you were also talking a little bit about the Discord and the Zulip stuff, and I think, yeah, I always feel a little bit not great when I'm, basically shilling Discord and about how this is the greatest of all friction reducers ever. Because on the one hand, it is. On the other hand, I'm definitely aware that there's a lot of people that won't want to, not even just won't, possibly cannot, for, like, regulatory reasons, access Discord. And I think the solution to there is, yes, you want to do bridges, but you also want to do it as smoothly as possible. Like, the fewer people that need to know what Zulip is, or need to be aware that there is a bridge, or need to be aware that, like, this is kind of my problem with the Fediverse, with the idea that everything is going to be federated, is everything is mediated through this idea that you know everything, and you know what you're doing, and you know which piece of this, like, federated thing you want to be on. And the reality is 99% of people don't have a fucking clue how that stuff works, and that's the reason they're not getting adopted. And I think the more we can do, again, it comes back to empathy. Understand how ignorant the average person is about this stuff, and don't make fun of them for that. Like, if they're ignorant about it and they can't figure out how to make things work, that's your fault. That's not their fault. Um, so I think there's definitely room to do better integration, better bridges, um, something like that.
I want to ask one question. So in the chat, it was brought up by Lars, I think. He said, no, well, somebody else actually. Well, on Fandom, there's a notification where it says, once you edited a page, at some time in the future, you'll get a notification that says, your page has been viewed by like 200 people. What do you think about something like that?
Yeah,
Or implementing it?
I think the thing,
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I think the problem I have with it is it's very delayed gratification. And I would expect the most common thing that happens there is just people don't see it, or they get distracted. Like, it doesn't have the desired effect. Like,
I mean, I don't view it as a problem, but I find it kind of unnecessary to, like, receive a notification that says your page has been viewed a couple times. Like, I think there's an option to view the page. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I
yeah,
just don't find it necessary.
I think it's
Would there be a possibility that when you submit an edit, that there's just as part of the thanks for making an edit, there's just a thing that says this page is usually viewed by this many people every day, or every week or
yeah,
whatever?
I think
Just
that's closer. That's closer to what I
Yeah.
would want to see, because the reality is most pages have roughly the same amount of views on, like, yesterday versus today, and I think
yeah, I don't think the point is to show the change.
yeah,
If anybody's
yeah.
hunting the change, they're
No,
going to be
I
disappointed.
get what you're saying. I think, yeah, the idea is, like, can you solve the delayed gratification by not waiting X amount of time to see what's going on? Mr. Pi says that could open the door for bad edits to get analytics on the site. This is true. It might be a trade-off. We'd probably just have to, like, test it or something. I think another problem is just that the MediaWiki notification system is really bad. There's the bell, and then there's also the, like, I literally run a wiki farm, and I don't understand how that works. Like, I think it is brutally complicated. I don't know why they're two separate things. I think if we wanted to solve this, or if we wanted to, like, start using notifications as a primary means for communicating with people, we need to make the notification system less bad. Because right now I have 99 notices and I have 13 alerts, and I don't know what the difference is between an alert and a notice. Then there's also other notices on other wiki. It's a mess. It is not empathetic to the user who doesn't know how things work.
I think the best option is to do just like fandom, put a bell to merge all the notifications into a bell. I think that will work actually.
I think something like that is right. I think the devil's in the details as to how it works.
Yeah.
They are
Okay,
actually merged on mobile as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so
Okay,
for some
so-
reason, it's a deliberate choice to have two of them on Vector, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't see any purpose, but well. I was going to ask a question a few minutes ago, so may I ask it right now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Are you going to do an online course to learn more about the Wikisphere? Like, I mean, their fandom has admin plus, sure, but I mean, a course about weird gloop, Marahis, or something like that. That will be awesome.
I mean, I think what you're seeing right now is the closest thing that I'm likely to do in this category. And it's not really about a specific wiki host. It's about here's some particular topics that I think are important for people to know about. I have the I just sent a link of like the rough topic list I want to do. So we did the first one. Another one after that is like, okay, how do you figure out what your readers are actually looking for, and why should you give a shit about this? Like that's important. One that Katil Sarin was talking about was how do you work with the game developers in the larger community? What can you do that is not purely wiki stuff? Like there's a lot of really cool things that OSRS Wiki does that do not neatly fit into the scope of wiki. You know, it's tools, it's calculators, it's guides.
Yeah, I understand.
And Dusk sort of the reason I didn't entirely take the bait and engage on like growing the core editor group is because that to me is that's a whole separate like 30 to 60 minutes of talking about that. And then the last bit is
you got me. I was trying to bait you.
Yeah, no, we'll get there. I just
don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Regarding this, you know, it was supposed to be from like a previous conversation, but personally, I think communication is key. It's like an incredible soft power from a wiki team, like not just in Discord, for example, but talking to editors like on the wiki or even Reddit, like on Discord to game developers, like to anybody. I think communication is key, and how you handle it is like really important in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean I think it's the most important thing. I think people focus a lot on, you know, am I good at this technical thing, or do I know Lua, or can I make these templates work, or whatever. And I think the most important thing for making a good wiki is, are you able to communicate effectively and empathetically with the people you need to? And if you do that well, then a bunch of other good things follow. And if you don't, then you're going to really have a pretty strict limit on how well you can do. But yeah, I don't think we're going to do like courses. I'm not really interested in this being a weird Gloop thing, to be honest. Like
I completely understand.
Think maybe less than half of the people here are associated with any of the wikis that we host, and that's fine, because the point is I want to figure out like the theory that explains why any of this works, and then we can just like optimize the shit out of it, and that benefits all of us, right? Like the big point I want to make is that this is an area where it is not zero sum. Zero sum situations are where if you get something good, then it's taking something away from me, right? And a lot of business and a lot of just kind of general negotiation and strategy in the world at large is based on this idea of everything is zero sum. And wikis are very much not that way. Wikis are, if you enjoy doing this thing, then that makes me better, because not only do we both have this thing that we're building is better than it was before, but I have more to do. I feel better about it. And me telling, you know, the League of Legends wiki or something, some ideas that we have on how to make good wikis, that doesn't hurt me. Okay, putting aside the fact that we host the League wiki, but like even if I'm only RuneScape, that's the only thing I care about. It doesn't do me any damage to share what I know. And if I get something back, which I did in this case, from these different ideas of other things we could be doing, like it benefits all of us. And I think we would all be a lot better off if we had that mindset on pretty much everything we're doing in Wiki world. If you're doing something unusual
Yeah.
that works, tell people about it, because there's this tendency to think all of the obvious things have already been done. If I'm doing this and it works for me, other people must know about it, or maybe it won't work for them. The reality is this is just a very, very underexplored space. And if you have a good idea that works for you, it will probably work for other people. And I don't really have a sense of why nobody has done this before. But I think there's a lot to be gained from it.
Okay, as I was saying with the question that I just put earlier, are YouTube channels for wikis helpful to provide information outside the wiki itself? For example, a YouTube channel to provide gameplays and put them on the wiki. For example, me and other admins of Poopedia, thanks to an idea by Kostya, who is right now he's right now in the stage, and he gave the idea to make a YouTube channel for the wiki. Wait, I revealed my face. Holy shit. Okay. Oh,
That's fine.
sorry. Oh my god. Oh, how do I? Oh, my desktop is a mess. Oh my god. Yeah. Okay, so this is the Poopedia channel, and here we upload gameplays and then put it on the wiki. I have so many tabs. I don't know why, but anyway. For example, we go to Who Popper, okay? And wait, I'm gonna search up Who Popper, and we'll we made a gameplay. Well, Morquit, a moderator of the wiki, made a gameplay. You can see here to provide information of basically what the mini game is about, and I think it's kind of helpful. And do you see it as a good idea to make people know about how the game works, and yeah.
I think so. I think it depends if you're trying to make the video work as a standalone thing or not. Like, if people come across that video on YouTube, are they going to be learning something, or does it kind of only make sense in the context of the wiki, right? So I think having YouTube stuff that supplements, if it's like, hey, this is an example of like killing this monster or something, I think it can be useful. I think it's a big scope increase though. Like once you start thinking about doing that for one thing, it gets very easy to be like, we should do this for everything, and all of a sudden that is much harder. Like editing, I can't remember who was saying this earlier, but like editing videos is hard. Changing them when the game updates is very, very hard. It creates a lot of work, and I think anytime you do it, you need to be balancing that against the whatever the creation and maintenance costs are of it. And I've seen so someone just says, we tried doing a video project on Minecraft Wiki and it never worked out. That's basically my experience as well on RuneScape. Is it's a huge amount of work, and not that many people are going to click whatever you have there.
For
Unless your goal is to
example,
make it like actually a standalone thing on YouTube, which
Yeah.
I've also not really, obviously there's examples of people doing that are not coming at it from a wiki angle and doing it successfully, but I would say it's a pretty different skill set.
Maybe I can
Yeah.
chime in
Okay.
here a little bit, because yeah, it's true. We had like, I think, 3 different video projects which all failed, because I think video making is just not compatible with like the wiki mindset.
Yeah.
But our
Yeah. For
solution,
example,
our solution to that was to
example.
allow community videos to be basically, we checked, is the video okay, is it good for inclusion in the wiki, and then we allow it to be included in the wiki itself.
Mhm.
And we have one particular person who runs a YouTube channel privately, and they submit their videos, and they are quite good. So this is kind of a win-win situation.
Yeah, I mean, Kostya, for example, Kostya, Pupi admin, he's right. As I said, he's right now in the yapping session. I mean, he recorded this. He completed all the 50 levels of easy mode. It was really insane to look at. Like, and it's 10 minutes, but what I did was basically do 5 different clips of level 1 to 10, level 11 to 20, etc. And like I merged these clips and merged the 5 clips of these merged clips, and yeah. I mean, doing for the 10 clips took 5 minutes.
I mean, like
and
Violine was saying, like the big problem with the Minecraft videos is they were outdated for like probably like 5 to 10 years, and there were more and more notes on the wiki of like, actually this video is outdated because of this update and stuff. And
Yeah.
so it kind of just goes against like the whole wiki. Anything is easy to edit it, stuff like that. But
yeah, makes sense. And Poo 3D, which is where the gameplay was recorded, actually updates kind of every month. And for example, Car Jam, the minigame I just showed earlier, renamed in an update. It used to be called Poo Jam, and yeah, it was kind of weird. And yeah, you're completely right about the update stuff. Like, it can be outdated in any moment.
Okay, so yeah. So someone also asked, how can we prevent rewards like the $5 items on RuneScape from being toxic and deviate people from genuinely wanting to contribute to the wiki instead of wanting the reward? I think it's tough. Like, you have to, like I said, you have to be aware that some percentage of people will just do it for that, and that just kind of comes out in the wash. Like, you have to be okay with the fact that you're going to lose some percentage of them, and you just like, I think I like having that focus on brand new people rather than existing contributors, and especially if the reward is kind of small enough in nature that actually California brings up a good point, which is Mudscape asked, like, did we have examples of this kind of not working for RuneScape? And the most prominent example, and this is related to picture what you said, the most prominent example of that was there's a title in RuneScape 3 that it's called the Wikian, and it goes next to your name, and you get it by making some contributions to the wiki, and then basically making a proposal that you should get the title, and then there's a little vote by whoever else wants to vote. And Twilight, I'm going to wait just like 20 seconds on this. There's a little vote on whether you should get it, and then if you get it, then it just gets added to your account. And it's not clear to me whether or not this was successful, but it has a lot of downsides. And kind of to what I was saying earlier about people people like getting recognition, but they really, really hate not getting recognition. This is kind of, to me, a canonical example of that. Because if you're a wiki editor and I don't know, maybe you spend a couple hours doing stuff and you make like 50 edits or something. You're like, oh, this is great. I feel like part of the community. I'm going to do this. I'm going to edit. And then you make a proposal to give yourself the title, and everyone is just like, go fuck yourself. You haven't done enough.
Yeah.
That is bad. That is worse than if we didn't have the system in the first place. So I don't have a clear answer on whether it was like net good or bad, but it definitely had some negative effects that we have been trying to figure out how to deal with over time. And I think the bad part of that mostly boils down to the bar is arbitrary and not obvious, right? Like you don't really know whether you've done enough until someone tells you that you haven't, and there's no possible way that someone telling you that is actually going to feel good. So that's when we were first doing the title nominations, I was thinking like, because people were like, we should have like a specific edit requirement, or we kind of the same sort of thing where we're trying to figure out some metric, some reasonable, well-defined threshold that you can either hit or not hit. And at the time, I was just like, oh, let's have it be consensus based, because if people have opinions on what the edit count requirements are, or like someone is an edge case, we want to be able to handle that appropriately and just have people vote. The problem is that creates all sorts of scenarios where people inadvertently are assholes about it. So that's probably the main example I can think of this not perfectly working. And I think I hate coming back to this again, but the best thing you can do to like stop the rewards from being toxic for this like $5 thing is get them in fucking Discord. Like, yes, you're still gonna have some people be bad, but it's a lot less socially acceptable to be just like in and out if you've actually gone and talked to someone. I think it's a lot easier to do if you're just like leaving a signature on a talk page or something. It just like Discord both
Yeah.
reduces bad activity and increases good activity.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
I
Twilight. I'm gonna
don't
let
worry.
Twilight talk. Yo. If you're talking, by the way, I cannot hear anything. Unlucky.
What? Okay, sorry.
Anyone seen any good movies lately, or what's going on?
Mortal Kombat 2 was pretty good in my opinion.
So true.
I've never played Mortal Kombat, but I did play Project Sekai, and also play Minecraft. Yeah. Is
I mean, I
Kui
never
gonna speak?
either. Like, I'm familiar with like a couple characters, maybe saying, but that's it.
Let's
Yeah, well, while they're getting their microphone figured out,
were there other questions?
I think there's a good one by JFX.
Okay. So JFX says, I mostly edit on wikis for real-time strategy games that have a much older and very niche audience base. Would you say the same tips apply here? Because I mean, it's a demographic question, right? Where the RTS games, a lot of people are in their mid-30s to 50s. I think if I had to pick recruiting teenagers to 20s versus 30s to 50s, I would take the 30s to 50s. I think you have to understand that they will often have less time. They are more willing to spend it. I think. Yeah.
I mean, like for context, assuming JFX is still here, like most of this experience that Cook has been talking about is from the RuneScape wikis, where like everybody started playing this game in like 2006, 2007. So most people are in their like early 30s already. So I think it actually is like more applicable to the 30 to 50 demographic,
Yeah.
possibly than the teenager demographic.
Yeah, I think that the main thing I would say is you're probably going to get less engagement in sort of like absolute terms, but the type of engagement you get is going to be better. You're going to have less of the kind of like toxic shit, and you're going to have probably more effectiveness just like having conversations with people. That would be my guess. Yeah, that's a really good question, because I do think we would all be a bit better off if we were aware of how the demographics of our specific situation do or do not change the dynamics. So, for example, something like article feedback for RuneScape and old school, this has been overwhelmingly positive. It's been like the useless feedback rate is probably in like the 5 to 10% range. I mean, it's high enough that we do still kind of need to tell the wiki editors to like not be assholes, because, like I said, if we're iframing Discord for them, um, then they're gonna see you talking shit about what they did. Whereas, but nonetheless, it's like 90-10 good versus bad. Whereas Minecraft, it sounds like it's more like 70-30 or 60-40, just in terms of people are younger, they're gonna like click something and send some crap. Twilight, I heard you for a second there, so you clearly have something resembling a microphone. You
Yeah.
want to go?
Basically,
Oh,
it's 11 p.m. in my time zone already, and I have to sleep
okay.
because I have to wake up early. So yeah, it was a pleasure to talk, and you did an amazing job in this yapping session.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Cool. See you next time.
So yeah, bye. Thank you.
Peace. Okay. What's up? Share your
Hello.
experiences. By the way, you shouldn't feel bad about sharing your experiences. That's kind of the entire point of this.
That's fine. It's more so that
Yeah.
I'm afraid of talking for 5 minutes and then having nothing else to add.
Oh, that's fine. I can fill the
Okay.
space. That's what I do.
All right. Cook. Thank you, Cook. I guess quick introduction. My IGN I go by Twilight053. I just shorten it to Twi. I happen to be an admin at Warframe Wiki since 2013. Just as of last year, our wiki migrated to Weird Gloop thanks to Cook and the other people's help in Weird Gloop. We are very, very appreciative of them for helping us so much in so many things. The experience I want to share, this is about turning readers to editor, correct?
Yeah.
Regarding to turning readers into editor, I find that like Cook's mentioned before, getting them into the Discord is the most efficient way, but maintaining them, I find that if people are sometimes afraid of editing the wiki. This is what I personally experienced in Warframe wiki, and I see that people did not want to like get scolded or get like wrist slapped or get like or get or like make the wiki worse in their mind. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
saying
get
that
what you
they
mean.
are actually making their
Like they're
wiki
scared.
worse.
Yeah.
Yes, in my experience, I pinned this message in Warframe Wiki ourselves, or at least in the Discord channel. This whenever I spot someone who are clearly afraid of contributing, I usually always try to reassure them. New editors and experienced editors alike assume you have all special permissions, OKs imaginable from admins whenever you want to contribute to the wiki.
Oh, this is great. This
Yeah,
is
you
great.
flip the wiki upside down if you feel like it. It is better to push your ideas to the wiki and fix the issues later. The last sentence is the most important one. You will not be reprimanded by anyone here.
Yeah, no, this is great. This is exactly like the style that I think more people should take. You're totally right that most people aren't even aware that there's like a revision history. They think that if they screw something up, someone else is going to have to rewrite it from scratch. And there's a massive difference in what you know versus what the readers know, and that's always going to be true. but what you can do is try and reduce the gap between what the readers know and what you think they know, if that makes sense. Like, you just need to get a lot better at understanding what the thing is that scares people off from contributing, and you're definitely right that a
Correct.
big part of that is this fear that they will break something and get banned and get made fun of even though they were just trying to help. And
Correct.
everything you can do is, I mean, yeah, it's empathy. I don't know if you were there for the initial part of the talk, but it's literally just feel, yeah, it's I think
I
we're all
get your
sitting
point,
there.
Cook.
Yeah.
I get your point, Cook. But to share even more, whenever I started copy pasting that pin message, I'm noticing there are occasionally when I posted that, they were always, "Oh, thank you for saying that. I needed to hear that." And then they became more active contributor in our Warframe wiki, and I'm very glad to see that. I think there were like Stygian is active, Dancer. I think there. I think I can name like 5 active contributors that continue to edit when you just remind them it is completely okay to make mistakes. Flip the wiki upside down. You have all the special permissions imaginable from admins.
Yeah.
And I think that 5 active contributor is so very valuable.
Oh, yeah. No, this is phenomenal. I mean, I'm very happy that you're doing. Did you, just reading from the date, did you just start doing this, like, at the beginning of this year?
Yeah, it was sometime in the beginning of this year. It was
Yeah.
during when I noticed that people were afraid.
Yeah.
Like
No, this is
I just
excellent. It's a great thing to, like, just kinda be on the lookout for, and I think something we should think about is, are there ways we can get that point across?
in my case,
Well,
in my in Warframe Wiki Discord, I usually just hover over the channels, and whenever I see someone, I just post that pin
yeah.
message to reassure them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking even on the level of, like, what is visible on the wiki, because a lot of times, like I was saying earlier, the worst thing you can do to get new editors is you put a big edit notice at the top of the page that says, these are all the things you can't do, and don't do this, and don't do this, and, you're logged out, and blah 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 blah
No,
blah. Like,
yeah, do not.
if we were trying to figure out, like, a single um thing that should be there that isn't, I think we could do worse than kind of what you have there, which is basically like, I mean, it's not saying like, hey, feel free to fuck this up. Like, we don't want to actually, like, explicitly encourage vandalism, but the kind of soft way that you're doing this, which is like, you know, we'll fix the problems later. I think that works very well. And I
Right.
do think if I was going to try and extend what you're doing at all, I think it would be, let's figure out how to get that message in front of more people, because you're clearly having a lot of success with it, just kind of manually sending it to people. And I think, like I said, I think there's a number of different things that each individually could probably increase the amount of people contributing on your wiki by like 50 to 100%. And if you multiply all of those together, then you are going to end up living in a very different world than the one you currently do. And I think that's cool, and I think we should be thinking about more of those. Momo just now says, "What if we had like a preview of history when you click edit, like the last 3 entries?" That's a very interesting idea. And, like, are there things we could do once once they click edit, or after they have edited, or somehow even before, but we have like some tiny little indication that maybe they would. Are there things we could do on like an interface level that more effectively make those points and increase the amount that people are editing? And the great thing is, we can just try these. Like, between everyone here, uh, between Weird Gloop and Mirahi's wikis, and maybe even GG if we're lucky, we have so much kind of sample size to work with on seeing what works. And I think we've had like 5 or 6 ideas just here, plus like the 4 or 5 that I've presented here, that we should probably just like systematically test. Because I don't really want to go off of vibes. Like I want to. What I would prefer to do if we're trying to test, for example, this thing that Momo suggested, is let's just run an experiment for like a week or a month or something, and see if there's actually a difference in who contributes based on this. Because I think it's quite possible. I think it's quite possible there's a number of small things that can have massive effects on how many people contribute. And if all of a sudden, like, I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility that there's like a factor of 10 to be had here. And I want all of you guys to think about what it would look like if you had 10 times as many people editing your wikis. It'd be pretty fucking cool, right?
Yeah,
But
I swear I thought about this. Like I talked to Peter about this like a week or two ago. That would be crazy. Like
yeah,
imagine 10 times as many editors. That, like, for example, Minecraft Wiki has like 500 active editors. I don't know. Imagine 5,000. That would be so crazy.
yeah. I don't think there's anything fundamentally stopping it. And I think a lot of you will also think like, oh, my wiki is small and like not complete and whatever, and I'm not going to have the same type of community as like Minecraft or old school RuneScape or something. And that's kind of partially true, but that's also very, very counteracted by the fact that the more obvious things there are for people to work on, the more editors you're going to have. Like, you could have a wiki that has 100 times fewer viewers than Minecraft, for example. And if you had stuff that needed to be done, you could end up like really on the same order of magnitude of total community size, because it really is. That's why all of these communities sort of peak when they do. Let me see if I have a graph of this somewhere.
Now imagine if it happened like overnight. It goes from like 50 active editors to like 500.
Yeah.
The only downside would be like the moderation.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
you'd have to figure that out as you go.
Right. In addition to like potentially getting a lot more people, if say you were to inform everyone that it is okay for things to break, we can fix it later. I want to add there is obviously the pro we already discussed, but you're gonna have to be patient when new editors will need to they are inexperienced, so they will need to make mistakes first before they become good. That is the gist of learning from a new wiki editor into an active contributor. So I just want to inform everyone that you that one moment. I just want to add to everyone that even if you ask them that they can mess things up, please be patient with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, if you and I both have wikis and I'm really nice to my new contributors and you're not, then I'm going to have a better wiki than you do after a year. And it's not a coincidence that the admins from like some of the biggest wikis, League and Warframe and Minecraft, are the ones that kind of get that. If you think that it's just like a something we're doing because we want to sound nice or like virtue signal or something, it's just completely wrong. It's because it actually makes the wiki better.
Oh no, we are completely
Yeah.
selfish. We all want to make the wiki better. That's our selfish motivation.
Yeah. Cool. Are there any questions left on the? There's a question of how do you. The very first question is about. Wikis where the game community itself might be only a few hundreds or thousands, number of editors single digits. Is converting, yeah.
Sorry, Cook, but
Yep,
I
go
do
ahead.
think I have actually seen one case of this, right? This is related to Soulframe Wiki, which I think if Pi knows about it, I used to make Soulframe Wiki GG. But I believe there was one time that someone else started a new wiki, a Soulframe Wiki. We call it Apricot Wiki now, and they were in a similar spot with you, Grother, where there's only like 10 of them that like sub one like sub 10 editors. What they did, I believe, was to spread their website everywhere, like spread their website everywhere. Well, that's more like advertising, but at the time, the sovereignwiki.gg was not as updated as it was supposed to be, and these great people, I believe Drakor was also in the Apricot wiki. The great people, by the way. My my advice to you, Groter, is to build a mini coalition of you and your like fellow staff, wiki staff, and then start to spread the words towards wherever you can. Obviously, don't like outright advertise them, but I believe if you wanted a reference to growing your wiki, you can ask the folks at Apricot Wiki who are maintaining the software wiki as we speak.
Yeah, and that's a tricky one because it's kind of very very early. But I think like the other thing I would say is the smaller the community is, the more value there is in actually just establishing lots of personal relationships and getting very cozy with a lot of people. And at some point it's less about just kind of like firing out your advertisements into the ether, and it's more about just finding the other people that really really give a shit about the game and kind of convincing them that one of the best things that they can do is to help build the wiki, because generally the people that like care about the game are the ones that are like interested in making it succeed more. So it's just the if I was trying to recruit for something that was 1,000 times smaller than RuneScape, for example, I would be finding out exactly where those people hang out, whether they're in a Discord somewhere, whether they're in a forum, whether there's like some YouTuber that they all watch, whatever the thing is, like all of it, all of it kind of shifts more towards individual communication and collaboration rather than just kind of polishing something for the group.
I do want to talk about something like regarding having like a smaller community. So let's say that someone started a wiki on fandom, and then that wiki got like 2 or 3 editors, and then well, like the entire community just decided that they want to fork to I don't know, for example, wiki.gg. It's pretty much easier for like everyone to agree to forking. Since there's like little to no casual editors and more like a few dedicated editors. Like it's easier to fork to wiki.gg and to abandon the fandom one. So I think this is like one of the cases where having a smaller community is like pretty beneficial. And eventually, this community can, since it's forked out of fandom, for example, like it'll be easier for this wiki to succeed with like more editors because like the user experience is better.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things you can get away with doing if you're leaving fandom and you're small that you can't get away with if you're like RuneScape or Minecraft or GTA or something, and that's kind of a generally true thing. For me, that's a bit more about like the reader capacity than it is for the like editor capacity. Like it's complicated. Okay, I'm a little bit running out of steam at this point. Does anyone have any final things they want to talk about? Walter, you've been typing for quite a while, so I assume you got a good one going. There we go. Yeah.
Anyways, I'm heading to bed because it's almost 1 a.m. and my
Sheesh.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta
Okay.
wake up early tomorrow.
Yeah.
like
Okay. I just
anyway,
realized.
this was an amazing discussion.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I want this to kind of continue in general, and for all you guys, if there's other folks that you think would enjoy being part of this, if you go back to your communities and you are looking at implementing some of these things, and you have other folks that are saying, why the hell would we do any of that? Like, what's the... Oh yeah, Momo says, when's the next one? I think we're gonna do this same time next week. So 2100 UTC. So tell your friends, tell your dog, tell your grandma, all that good stuff. Sweet.
Bye.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Cook.
Good talk.
This was a great discussion.
Yeah.
Good talk. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. Peace, guys. I'll just end the stage actually.